GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered.
And that's MVS and Justin Watson.
With some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues.
If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up.
Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow,
Comma, semicolon, period, next sentence.
to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
And Jay.
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? How
So
good is GMGP? It is Monday. We ain't been here in like 3 Mondays. August 4th, 2025. Y'all decided to wake y'all asses up with myself and my brother from another mother. Y'all know who he is. The Canadian Jordan Richards himself. Hit them air horns, baby. I see the people in the building. JRich, we're going to have a good show. The people are in the building. Let's get it out the way. Let's get it out the way early. Jorge, what's popping with you, baby? Hope you have a good day, good Monday in Rhode Island. We got Garrison in the building. I'm pumped, baby. JRich, it's football. Air horns again. Air horns again. Football. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Scribbles in the building. Greg, T. Miller 242. GMGP to you, man. Happy Monday, big dog. We got RJ in the building. Anthony, Greg, JB, what's up? Louise, Steve, Greg, Anthony, Travis. Got inbox offers. Hey, wake up, fam. Help him out. I saw my girl Joe in the chat earlier today. Wifey in the building. JRich, how you doing, baby?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I had a good weekend for everyone who was there for the Friday Saga. The voice is...
You feeling better, baby?
just about back. I'd say 85,
There we
90%. So we're good. We should be good for today. Back preseason week 1. Lots of news throughout the weekend. Very excited. But Ray, I'm sure people want to talk about the hat. They want to talk about what happened at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
And I'm going to allow you the stage because
you're
wanna tagging me on Twitter. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about
Seth
it.
freaking Rollins. I mean, let's go. Seth Rollins, WWE World Heavyweight Champion. We got Cody Rhodes undisputed. Took the title from Cena. Clean finish, too. Clean finish. It was a nice finish. One of the best SummerSlam matches of all time. We kind of joked about Bret Hart versus Davey Boy. We kind of joked about that on the last show. This one's going down. It was an all-timer. It was an all-timer match. The night, JRich, night 2 wasn't all that. Night 2 wasn't all that. It started off high. Io, Naomi, you know what I'm saying? The triple threat, Rhea Ripley, the Eradicator. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Tables, ladders, and chairs match. Excellent. Wyatt Six winning, not feeling it. But after that, it kind of went downhill. But the main event brought it home, man. It was a good night. I was showing you the Seth Rollins injury. I thought his ACL was destroyed. And he worked it, JRich. He worked me. He worked the world. He worked the WWE. I'm telling you, you should go watch it. You should watch that moment. It was great entertainment. I don't know if you saw the picture. Young GQ. Let me give an update, positive update, because you know my son had been sick and going through it. Big WWE fan, little man is. He was not feeling the end of that match, JRich. He was not feeling that, and he was crying at the end of that. I got a little picture right here. Let me show you your boy. You know, Ridge is your boy, man. Ridge is your boy. Here's
Damn right he is.
Here's Ridge at the little man.
Oh God.
was not feeling that Seth Rollins, JRich, cashing in his money in the bank on CM Punk. He was not feeling it, but it was dope.
Is he a big Seth Rollins guy?
He's not a big Seth Rollins guy, man. He's a bad guy. He likes the good guys. He wanted CM Punk to get it. Didn't happen, but it's all good. We'll save the rest of the WWE pod for the show for the WWE pod. I'm getting it going. It's gonna be live before next WrestleMania. Before WrestleMania 42, that podcast is going down. But there's a lot of football stuff, JRich. There's a lot of NFL drama still. I mean, soon as we finish the show on Friday, all hell broke loose 15 minutes from the crib. All hell broke loose in Dallas. I'm just like, what the hell happened? What is going on? It's Luka. It's Micah. It's Jerry. trade requests. I mean, talk about it, Jay. What the hell is going on?
I mean, the Micah saga alone was pretty insane, right? We know that there's been the whole contract thing, and it stems all the way back from when Jerry said he didn't know who Micah's agent was, right? And that alone is just madness. And you hear the reports that Jerry likes to only negotiate with players. He doesn't negotiate with agents. And you're like, okay, that's really strange. And then there's the whole Des Bryant saga, and Des Bryant saying, if you want to go there, Jerry, we can go there.
Hey, we're not getting into Des and Nicki Minaj today. We're not getting into that.
But it's just crazy because all this culminated to, you see it on the screen here if you're watching on YouTube, Micah Parsons basically saying thank you to Dallas and requesting a trade, which he formally delivered to GM Stephen Jones on Friday. Now, what does that mean? Not a whole lot. A player of Micah Parsons' caliber doesn't get traded. They just don't. And so the trade request is probably just meaningless at this point. But we'll see what happens with it. It's interesting because Jerry then comes out.
They're saying Jay's got an echo. It's probably because I'm on. Let me mute myself.
Well, so the big thing here with this news is what's going to happen with Jerry, and is he going to get this deal done? He told the fan base not to worry about it. He told the fan base that there's no concerns, not to lose any sleep over this. But ultimately, Ray, what are your thoughts on this situation in Dallas? Because it's a big story. He's their best player, arguably, and he's arguably their most important player, especially on defense. He's one of the best defensive ends in football, if not the best defensive end. So where do you kind of stand with this whole thing? And I love how the people get on me for the echo, but it is almost always your fault.
Hold on, time out. Time out. Am I echoing or is it JRich? Who's the echoer? Who's the damn echoer? I think I'm good, Jay. I think I'm good. See, I tried to, but I tried to put the hold on. Oh, we gotta fix this on the stream. I tried to put the headphones on to be like you, to keep the outside noise in. But I think, Jordan, I'm gonna go on mute. I'm gonna mute and you talk, and let's see if we can hear.
I don't know. The people need to tell me what's going on, because when I do my own test, I sound normal. I don't sound with an echo. So that's why I don't know if it's me or if it's you, because you are hosting the stream.
We got it, Jay. When you're talking, I got to go on mute. When I'm talking, you can stay off mute. We're good now. I think we're better now. I will go on mute when you talk. All right, Micah, go.
I already talked about the whole thing.
They said you sounded like the Wizard of Oz.
Whose fault is that?
We're better now. And for the people out there, just got to bear with us, right? It's the first Monday in 3 Mondays. And we're going to go a little over an hour. So don't worry. JRich didn't know, but we're going to take a little bit longer today, JRich. But yeah, this is, dude, I don't know. I don't know why. And it's not just Micah, Jay. CeeDee Lamb, he was so fed up. He just said, well, just pay. Why do we do this drama? Pay the man what he's worth. I know a lot of people were talking about Micah, a lot of Dallas Cowboys content creators. Shout out to my dog, JTuck51 on X, big time Dallas Cowboys streamer. He had a mega stream just talking about this from a player standpoint, and it's a fan of the team. As somebody who doesn't cover Dallas like that, I'm a fan of the squad, but I don't I'm just watching this like, why is it the Cowboys every year, whether it's back when Des Bryant was trying to get paid, and when he did get paid, it was like the second highest deal a wide receiver got. Dak Prescott, the drama around him, Ezekiel Elliott, are we going to bring him back or not? And CeeDee Lamb, get that done. Why is there so much hesitation on paying Micah's top 5 player in the NFL?
I mean, top 1 player in the NFL in terms of the contract. Like, we saw Jamar get paid, then we saw Myles Garrett get paid, or maybe it was Myles Garrett, then Jamar, then TJ Watt got paid. Now, at this point, Micah's going to get paid, whether it's 41.75, 42 million, whatever the number ends up being. Regardless of the team that Micah's playing for, he's going to be the highest paid non-quarterback in football, or at least he should be based off of all the numbers he's put up and how good of a player he is. But it's just ridiculous. And Ray, the question to you about this is, do you think this is all just Jerry's marketing strategy? Because Jerry likes to be in the news. Jerry likes the Cowboys to be talked about. He likes to wait till the last minute. He doesn't care if it costs him an extra $20 or $30 million in the end. The problem is that Micah seems to be pretty upset by this whole thing. It's not just a non-story. He'll get his money eventually. There is a world where maybe Micah says, you know what? Like, I'm just sick of this shit, and I don't want to deal with it anymore, and I'd rather just play for another organization. And then at that point, what do the Cowboys do? Do they hold him hostage and wait until his contract is basically up? Or do they trade him? Because a player of his caliber does not get traded almost ever. And I kind of led off with that. And so people can talk about trade packages, what teams he could play for, but it just doesn't exist. Like, players of Micah's caliber simply do not get traded. Teams would rather them die on the roster than trade them, especially for a 26-year-old, arguably the best defensive player in football at times. So what do you think Jerry's plan is here? And how does this ultimately get fixed overall?
Jay, there's got to be, I think there is, especially, we continue to talk about on this show, this new era that we're kind of going into in sports, right? Where I don't want to say player empowerment, but they understand their value, or they are more cognizant of their brand and what they're worth and getting what they're owed and being boisterous about it. I think social media and platforms have allowed for athletes to have their own mini market inside of the bigger market in the ecosphere that is the NFL or that respective team. And when you are a superstar, which Micah Parsons is, you can't F around with those guys, right? Yes, he wants to be paid. And to your point, he will be the highest non-paid quarterback in NFL history, or should be. It just feels like it's bad for business. It doesn't feel like WWE drama for entertainment, right? We kind of joked about Seth Rollins getting hurt and then popping up and everyone's excited. This doesn't feel like they're going to, at the end of this, even if he is paid, which I really hope they do, because all the trade packages for Parsons, I mean, you got NFL players from other teams saying, come to Philly, come to the Commanders. It's well known that Micah wants to play and reunite with Dan Quinn. This just doesn't feel like something that, even if Dallas gives him $200 million guaranteed, that it goes away. I don't, it's just bad. It's a bad look for that organization. It's a bad look, especially I know they paid Jake Ferg, right? And a lot of people, that clears up some room, but I think it's just the optics. It's the optics. And then what did Jerry say? This ain't no big deal. Like, what did he say? I wouldn't lose any sleep over this, Cowboys fans.
Crazy.
I know. I don't really know what to say. It's been, as a fan of this team, a lot of good players. I'll just say this. I don't know how good this team is going to be this year. I'm not sure. I've been on record by saying I think that they're third best in the NFC East at best, behind the Philadelphia Eagles and behind the Washington Commanders. So third best in the NFC East. They're probably not getting 3 playoff teams in again like they did in 2022. I'm in on the Dallas offense. I don't know how good this defense is going to be. The offensive line, they are decimated up front. Left tackle Tyler Guyton is expected to miss up to 6 weeks. You're going to probably have to kick Tyler Smith out. They went and signed La'el Collins. The depth is bad. The running game is sort of a mess. This just feels, and then you got a 32-year-old quarterback on a win-now-built team. It feels like a little bit of a mess in Dallas, JRich.
Yeah, and that's where it's, what is their plan or their next move, and what is Jerry's plan? And the reality is they don't have a plan. They never have a plan. And whatever they become this season, to your point, will be largely predicated on the defense. And I think the more unfortunate part for Parsons is, if George Pickens has a good season, I don't think they're going to hesitate to re-sign him, right? Because Jerry is about the offense, and he's paid offensive players. He hasn't done that so much on the defensive side, and he went out and even talked about Trayvon Diggs and paying him early for him to ultimately get hurt and then have a poor performance following that. So there's a lot of things to figure out in Dallas, and Micah is obviously one of the biggest dominoes still to fall. But yeah, like even just the small things, like him not wearing his practice jersey while he's on the sidelines is like another subtle shot at the team to say, look, I'm here because I don't want to get fined, but y'all got to figure something out. It's a weird story, man, because I wouldn't say it's a big concern as to whether he plays on the Cowboys versus another team. I fully expect him to be on the roster. Like, I don't see him going anywhere, but it's not a story that seems to be going away anytime soon, unfortunately.
I agree, Jay. Let's talk about another story, and I'm gonna go to a comment right here from Fredo. Fredo said, Ray, how are you in on that offense after all the bad you just listed? I asked because I was on the fence about them until you reminded me about the O-line injuries already. For me, it's Dak Prescott, man. I mean, you're talking about a quarterback who's probably going to throw the ball 600 times. They haven't had a running game since Tony Pollard in 2023 when he ran 4,000 yards. When Dak is back, even with how bad that offense was last year, they threw the ball collectively between Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush and a few games of Trey Lance. The collection of Cowboys quarterbacks threw the ball 637 times last year. And I know Brian Schottenheimer is in this year and he's talking about this running game. I get that. I hear that. You're not going to be able to control the game with Javonte Williams, a banged up Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue, and Deuce Vaughn. It's not happening. They are going to throw the ball. It's going to be the Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson show. That's you don't really have to look any further. That's what it's going to be, Jay. You know, if they get 1,000 yards out of a running back, that would be great. But Javonte Williams isn't dominating anybody behind that offensive line here in 2025. So offensively for fantasy, I think you're still in the same boat. Even if the defense takes a step back, you're still in a good boat because now you're going to have to score even more points. And you better believe with a veteran quarterback like Dak at what is Dak? 31, 32, Jay? They are going to throw the shit out of the ball, man.
Might be 33 at this point, but the point is with Dak is he's not so old that you really have to be concerned as to whether or not he can hold up yet. He just turned 32 6 days ago. So like this guy's got plenty of time left, but definitely with this team, and what happens with Micah could change the trajectory of the Cowboys for the next few years. But we know they're kind of coming out of a bad stretch, and Dak being injured for multiple seasons at times isn't going to help any of that. But I mean, even at this stage, like how are they going to surpass the Eagles? How are they going to surpass the Commanders if they continue to build well throughout their team? It's really just, can they offensively compete with some of these higher tier teams? That's the only way they're ever going to compete. This defense is never going to be what it was under Dan Quinn. What was it, 2 years ago when they were one of the best defenses in football, and then they regressed very heavily once he left. But even with that, if Micah's there and playing on the field, they'll be all right. But we can move forward now to the AFC East, Ray, because probably one of the biggest stories for fantasy football occurred over the weekend. Bills head coach Sean McDermott told reporters that recently paid wide receiver Khalil Shakir is week to week with a high ankle sprain. So last offseason, Ray, we got into a heated debate about Puka Nacua and what was going to happen with him. He was labeled week to week in the offseason. We were waiting to see, could he be healthy for week one? And ultimately it lingered into the season. How do you feel now knowing that Khalil Shakir is week to week with a high ankle sprain, should be out 4 to 5 weeks, basically putting him right up to week one of the season where they open up against the Baltimore Ravens? But how do you feel about Shakir? And is there anyone else you're interested in on this Buffalo team knowing he's going to miss the next 4 to 5 weeks of camp?
Isn't the high ankle sprain like I don't want to call it a death sentence for the season, but this typically, they don't return and play great after they have it. Now, just in recent memory, this has normally happened in season, right? I remember a couple of years ago, Jerry Jeudy went off the first game. I think it was Broncos versus Giants. Jerry Jeudy going apeshit, and then high ankle sprain, and then he wasn't the same for the rest of the year. The only saving grace is this happened at the beginning of August, and he's got some time to get ready. So even if he's not full go at the start of the season, aka week 1, week 2, I think the idea and the hope for us is by the time things really get rolling, week 4, week 5, week 6, when we need him down the stretch, he's available. But here's the thing, and a lot of people, I've seen people saying they don't want anybody. First of all, I see people saying, oh, it's Josh Palmer season, not knowing his ass is hurt right now. He's injured and has not been practicing. So you're looking at an offense with Elijah Moore, Keon Coleman, a smattering of Josh Palmer, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox is still there. And more importantly, you've got a quarterback who threw for 3,700 yards last year. If you're anticipating Josh Allen to still be MVP level Josh Allen, this isn't a situation where you got to fade all the receivers. I see people saying, I don't want anybody. I don't want any of the receivers in Buffalo now. Well, if you've got a damn near 4,000-yard passing quarterback, Jay, you absolutely want pass catchers inside of this offense. For me, today, I guess Keon Coleman gets a bump, right? He gets a bump to a degree. He's damn near first-round pick, showed flashes last year. He's not the complete player. I don't think he's I don't think he's the next coming of Jamar Chase or some alpha level difference maker, but I do believe that the Buffalo Bills are going to give him an opportunity to go out there and get some more extended run, probably some more targets his way. Palmer's absolutely going to be involved in this offense. Whoever mans that slot role, is it looking like? And Elijah Moore is probably going to be there. You've got Dalton Kincaid, a running game. I was a big fan of Khalil Shakir. He's one of the players that I talked about on Underdog being one of the guys I can't stop drafting. I love this opportunity and upside. They paid him early in free agency. High ankle sprains it's just not good, man. Just high ankle sprains in general are just things that I would prefer to avoid, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where the one player that you didn't mention was actually Curtis Samuel. So he's the guy that potentially could fill this slot role for the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, there's two quarterbacks in the NFL that doesn't really matter if their wide receiver 1 gets hurt, their wide receiver 2 gets hurt, their tight end 1 gets hurt. You're not going to change where you draft them because they are the best 2 quarterbacks in the NFL. And it's Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. And so that's where Khalil Shakir being hurt does hurt Josh Allen, of course. But I think when you look to the players that are going to be most benefited by this, it's probably going to be Curtis Samuel if he does maintain that slot role. I talked about from feels like Josh Allen's second season to how his favorite role in an offense is the slot. Whoever mans that slot role is going to get targets in the offense, and Josh Allen's going to find a way to use that player heavily. But the other guy, I think, is potentially going to be James Cook. James Cook, for everything he was in the rushing attack and all the regression we're expecting from him this season, could be benefited early in the year by a hobbled Khalil Shakir because they can throw him some swing passes out of the backfield. They could put him in the slot if they want to, and ultimately he could be the guy that sees an increase in volume that's kind of unexpected because they're trying to find creative ways to get him the ball as one of their most talented playmakers, especially in short and in space. So that's where, for me, it's like you could talk about Palmer, you talk about Coleman, and I totally agree. They could see the bump. The question really is, like, can Shakir be back and healthy by, let's say, week 4 or 5 to where you're confident to start him every week after that? Because as you said, high ankle sprains do linger. It will probably bother him for at least the first month of the season. The hope is, though, after that, he's fine and good going forward. And it's kind of like, can you stomach that in your drafts? But as far as Josh Allen goes and Keon Coleman and Palmer and all these guys, I don't think it really moves the needle for any of them. It really just, for me, potentially could mean a lot of upside for James Cook and maybe even some more upside for Josh Allen because he's going to have to do even more for this offense.
Yeah, I see people talking about Amari Cooper. I don't know what the hell Coop is doing. I was like, man, I wish Coop could go to San Francisco. I'm like, get him over the Niners, who have big-time wide receiver issues, and we'll get to them as well. I agree. A lot of people are saying high ankle sprain, not good. F word, right? F word with a D at the end. Not good. This is going to linger all season long. Again, my only hope is this happened August 1, not September 1. And he's got, 4 weeks of time. He's not a new receiver. He knows the playbook. He knows the offense. He knows his role. Fingers crossed, but overall, it doesn't feel good for the outlook or the range of outcome for Khalil Shakir this year. So one of my guys already that I've kind of planted a flag on going into the season, at least you got time to pivot, right? At least you have time to make a move, to pivot, to go a different direction. High ankle sprains are just really, really tough to deal with, especially at the receiver position, Jay. But we got another receiver that we need to talk about. And this would be big. If this happens today or tomorrow, reports are it's going to happen sometime this week. There's mutual interest on both sides. But if this happens, Jay, this absolutely is going to impact and affect one of the top playmakers that we're drafting right now. And we are going to go to a top 5 offense, according to Jordan Richards. Top 5 offense in the NFL, not because of Najee Harris, who is currently doing laps walking at practice. So JRich is excited.
Did you mute yourself?
I did mute myself. Let's talk about the Chargers. JRich potentially signing free agent wide receiver Keenan Allen, who apparently still wants to play. He's got a lot of game left in him. He showed that he could play last year. Is he going to stay on the field the whole 17 games? Probably not, but that's neither here nor there. Keenan Allen potentially reuniting in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert. What the hell would that do for Ladd McConkey, who plays the slot? Keenan Allen plays the slot, and he plays outside. But what would this do for Ladd, bringing Keenan Allen back in, Jay? Do you want to see this happen?
I do want to see it happen, but no, it doesn't. I don't think it should matter for Ladd McConkey. I think when you're talking about the other receivers, the auxiliary playmakers, the ones that are not Ladd McConkey, then you can be concerned. But I think we should all fully expect Ladd McConkey to get his. I know maybe you believe that there's a 170 target ceiling for Ladd McConkey this season if Keenan Allen's not on the roster. And if he's on the roster, he probably doesn't see that. But outside of that, like, I just don't know if this is going to change a whole lot, because if Justin Herbert's going to throw the ball to 2 or 3 weapons this season, he's going to throw the ball to Ladd McConkey because he's the best receiver on the team. He's going to throw the ball to Keenan Allen because Keenan Allen's probably going to get open and going to be on the field on critical downs. But outside of that, I just don't think it's going to hurt him a whole lot. You're not expecting a lot of touchdowns from McConkey because he's not a big touchdown guy. He could play outside with Keenan Allen inside if they wanted to operate in those 2 wide receiver sets. I think he would succeed in that role because he is more than capable of getting open. But I just don't think it moves the needle a whole lot for Ladd McConkey in terms of his upside. I think he'll be just fine overall. And I think even if you're Keenan Allen, you don't want to take away from what Ladd McConkey can be.
Jay, I'm trying to look for how often Keenan Allen played on the outside with Chicago. I'm trying to look this up. I think it absolutely matters for Ladd. I know you're saying it doesn't move the needle, wouldn't be that big of a deal. It has to matter. I think it has to matter. And first of all, I never said Ladd's getting 170 targets, so I don't know where you got that from.
I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying people may think that.
I'm going off mute to see if there's still an echo. I did something different on the audio side, Jay. So say something. Let's just see, and then I'm gonna.
All right.
Well, talk, and then don't.
I hear
talk.
it a little bit, but yeah.
Let's see if they can hear it. All right. Don't say anything now. Let's just see what the comments say. I think this absolutely matters for Ladd McConkey. I think it would be a good move for the Chargers and bringing in another veteran receiver that they can count on. Right now, it's QJ, it's Ladd McConkey, and it's one of the rookies. And it seems like Keandre Lambert-Smith, this team continues to rise, right? Okay, it was still there. Okay, we won't do that again. We won't do that again. It's still there. So we'll make sure we'll make sure that I'm muted whenever you're talking. But yeah, it's a big deal, dude. I think it's a huge deal, JRich, if they bring in a player of his caliber. But that's the Chargers. They're not trying to play fantasy football. They want to win games. And bringing in Keenan Allen, he's better than QJ. He's better than Keandre Lambert-Smith. He's better than Trey Harris. So I do think that this is probably a little bigger of a deal. And I'm not saying it hurts Ladd to where Ladd's irrelevant, but Ladd had a great season last year. What do you have, 100 and something receptions, 1,100 yards? It may just keep him right around there, right?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, what's crazy is Ladd only had 112 targets last year in 16 games. 82 receptions for 1,150 yards, 7 touchdowns. But I mean, Quentin Johnston, 91 targets. Josh Palmer, 65. Will Dissly, 64. J.K. Dobbins, 38. Like, there was only 491 total targets on this team. Now, again, to your point, I don't necessarily expect that to change a ton. Maybe it goes up to 530, 540. We fully expect, depending on what happens with Najee Harris, to still be a heavily rushing team. But maybe if Najee Harris isn't in the fold, especially early, maybe there is a world where they can be a bit more pass heavy because they just simply can't run Omarion Hampton 25 rushing attempts a game, and they don't want to rely on Vidal. They'd rather just put the ball in Justin Herbert's hands, and they can work that way. But I do think there's a world where Ladd could easily have 140 targets, and Keenan could still have 100, and this offense will be more than fine, at which point it doesn't hurt Ladd, because if you give him 140 targets at the pace he was on last season, he's probably a 1,300-yard receiver with 10 touchdowns, and Keenan could still be a 100-target guy, maybe 70, 80 receptions for 800 yards to, again, help bolster this offense and turn it into a highly efficient, very productive offense. So that's where, you know, I hear what you're saying, and I understand people be concerned because Ladd was a slot guy, but we can't just say that he's a slot guy simply because he only played the slot last year. Maybe the plan is to move him a bit more outside, and adding Keenan into the fold could help with that as well. So, again, if he fails outside, then I would be in 100% agreement with you. But until he fails outside, I'm willing to kind of give him that shot because he's a lot faster and a lot more dynamic than we all kind of expected. And that's why he did average 14 yards of reception and had over 1,000 yards as a rookie.
I just don't think there's an issue with being a slot receiver. I think we talk about it like it's some sort of indictment, but I don't. You allow your players to thrive where they can get open, and you put his body type, his physical skill set how quick he is, the speed, the shiftiness. If you've talked about the route running ability, I mean, he's a monster. It's very difficult to guard a receiver playing slots. Nickel cornerback outside of QB, and most football players will say hardest position to play. Hard because you got to play the game backwards. You're playing the game backwards, and they're playing full speed forward. They know where they're going. It's an incredibly difficult position to play. But at least if you're a boundary corner, you got the sideline for a little bit of protection, right? Nickel corner, you play slot corner, you got two-way goes. It's two-way goes. It's traffic. It's absolutely impossible to play that position. So putting a shifty receiver there just creates so many different mismatches. So I would love to see Ladd continue that. Like, why stick him on the outside? He got 112 inside. Give him 150 inside and watch him flourish. Now, Jay, I think this has been the biggest story in training camp. Personally, I think this has been the biggest story collectively in training camp. And we've talked about players from this team all the time. We talk about them every damn show. We talk about Rome Odunze and DJ Moore every single show. Who we haven't really talked about because the assumption is he's just going to get better and he's going to play like the number 1 overall pick. He's going to play like Patrick Mahomes Jr. It's going to happen now that he's got Ben Johnson. But man, dude, the chatter.
You muted yourself again.
Well, it's every time I switch the scene. The chatter on social media, the clips that are coming out about the Chicago Bears offense in training camp. Jay, the only team that I see more quarterback updates for are the Cleveland Browns. It's every day how bad Caleb Williams is, not good, can't run the offense, incomplete passes. The offense looks a mess. I believe Ben Johnson came out and said, it's a work in progress right now. I'm just going to ask you. I'm going to go on mute. I want to ask you, where are you at with this offense? You know I've been, you my friend, and I'll give you some credit, Jay. I'm going to give you a little air horn. You're not right, first of all. Let me just tell you, you're not right yet. But you have been saying you've been a little skeptical of old Ben Johnson the whole time. You've said, I'm a little skeptical about this offense, about Chicago. Just your thoughts on everything we're hearing about how not good the Bears have looked in training camp.
Well, I think it's interesting, right? Because this has been kind of my position for a while now, it seems. And it's not that we don't like the offense. It's just the fantasy community as a whole is like so out over their skis on this team and this offense and this coach and like how they're going to look. And I want to give the NFL a bit of credit, Ray, because I don't know when these in-stadium scrimmages started, but it feels very new, and every team's been doing one, and we're getting some great clips and some great highlights of these team scrimmages instead of just, waiting for the joint practices. But yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. I think with Caleb, right, you see this clip here of him missing literally every target. You're like, oh, God, man, what's going on? But at the end of the day, like, a receiver's window is not even that tight. He'll probably be more than fine. And I think he's a bit of a gamer as well. And as I was watching that clip, I thought about it like, Caleb doesn't got to worry about hitting every spot in practice. Like when the time comes, when the game's on, the lights are bright, like he's going to make the play. And I do believe that. But absolutely the discussion around this team, around this offense is like, it's tiring. Because, even when we talked about it, last week, people were like, oh, JRich, you're going on old reports. Ben Johnson's been saying great things about the offense and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, that may be true today or tomorrow or the other day, but it's like every day it's this or that. It's hot and cold. And that's what preseason is. That's what training camp is. It's not going to be great every day, and that's perfectly okay. But when you're in Chicago or you're in the New Jersey media, just everything is so hyper scrutinized and you just can't read into all of it. But in the case of Caleb Williams, I wouldn't say I'm out by any stretch. I definitely see a world where we should be in on this player because the upside is still extremely high. But I think where the price is right now, it is a little bit risky. It is a little bit risky because the downside isn't that great either. And so the interesting thing will be is, can this offensive line produce the results that we expect once they all came together? And can this offensive line be cohesive enough to give Caleb Williams the support that he needs to flourish? And I think that's the biggest question when it comes to this team. It's not the pass catchers or even necessarily Ben Johnson, because Ben Johnson's job year one is to have Caleb comfortable and in the pocket. And if he can do that, then we can start to ask the questions if Caleb's the guy, because once he has that, there really is no excuses. And I think that's once the offensive line is together and playing well and keeping Caleb clean in a pocket, Ben Johnson can expand this offense and start to do some different things. But until that happens and Caleb isn't getting sacked 4 or 5 times a game, we have to ask questions as to whether this team is ready and whether Caleb is ready to run this offense.
I said it last year at the end of his rookie year. There was a lot of negativity around Caleb Williams. What he takes, 68 sacks, 70 sacks, something to that degree. He went out there, we're never going to punt. They went, 5 weeks without scoring an offensive touchdown. It wasn't as positive as people were expecting, right? And what do we continue to preach on this show, Jay? Managing expectations. I'm trying to do a better job at that. Sometimes you get the Puka Nakuas, you get the Chases, you get the Jeffersons where they just blow up right away. But by and large, it doesn't typically happen that way. We don't get Joe Burrow just coming in year 2 takes a team that's picking number 1 overall to the Super Bowl. There are rare instances where that happens. I didn't think Caleb's rookie year was as bad as people made it seem. It wasn't great, but I mean, he still was a 3,000-yard passer. He had 20-plus touch. I get, but I see you ready to smirk, and here's how bad it was. The situation and infrastructure was an absolute mess. But here's the thing, right? At some point, like the rubber will meet the road with him, just like it does every quarterback. I'm just not there yet. He's an ultra-talented second-year quarterback coming out of an awful situation, man, with a bad offensive coordinator and a head coach that probably shouldn't have been the head coach that drafted him when the Bears made that selection in 2024. I'm not going to panic that much on what the beat reporters are saying about the look of the offense. It should take a little bit. Like it should take a little bit for if this offense is as complex and as creative as everybody makes it seem. I don't expect Caleb Williams to have it after 1 week in training camp practices. He's a very easy target to hate. From the time his final USC game where his nails were painted and he was crying in the stands with his mom, he's been an easy mark to just hate. And then when you open your mouth and you say shit like, we're never going to punt, we're going to do this, and then it doesn't happen, like everybody wants to, I don't know what it is, but people like to see people fail. You know, it's a weird thing, but people love, I told you this dude sucks, right? I told you he sucks. I'm in on the demise. I'm just not there yet. I do think he is a little bit of a gamer, but you'd like to see him on script a little bit more. That was one of the issues that a lot of people had with Caleb coming out of USC. But I think when the lights turn on, man, with that weaponry, with that coaching staff, you talked about the offensive line. They've done a lot to try to improve it. They have. They brought in a center. They've drafted offensive linemen with Ryan Poles. They invested at the tight end position to bring some more dynamism to the offense, to play alongside Cole Kmet. I'm just not as panicked as other people, Jay.
Yeah, and that's where, we're going to see what Johnson does. And I think that's the hard part, and I think why I've been a little bit critical of Ben Johnson is like, look, we can say Jared Goff is a mid quarterback and he's not that good, but man, he took that offense and he really mastered it. Like, and that's where when I'm critical of, the Detroit Lions and especially what they're going to be this season, it may end up kind of like what happened with Baker Mayfield, where they developed a great offense under Dave Canales and it got even better under Liam Cohen because they didn't revamp the offense or change the offense. They just took what they had that was successful and found ways to make it even better. We may see that in Detroit this season as well. But when you're taking a quarterback that, in all semblances is a rookie again, because he's getting this new play caller, new head coach, under this new system that is apparently so complex, he's not coming from a Sean McVay style system that's also very complex like Jared Goff is. He's coming from a system that was arguably one of the worst we've ever seen, and Shane Waldron, that we all knew was going to be a dumpster fire because it has been from the very beginning. It has been from his time in Seattle. And so now he's forced to not just learn new habits, because his habits were already bad coming into the NFL and they weren't improved with the coaching staff, but he's also learning a very complex, difficult offense to grasp. And I think that's where you do have to give him some grace. But the problem is, being the number 1 overall pick, with Jaden Daniels behind him, with Bo Nix behind him, with Michael Penix behind him, and potentially even Drake May, who's also learning a new system behind him, drafted behind him, but potentially flourishing ahead of him, that's when the questions get asked and the problems start and the pressure starts to build on this number 1 overall pick.
In or out on Chicago's offense? Not DJ Moore, not Rome Odunze, not DeAndre Swift, not Luther Burden, but the collection of offensive talent on the Chicago Bears. Honest take, are you in on this offense? I know you're not the Ben Johnson coach worshiper. I know that's not you. But when rubber meets the road and they're on the field playing with the collection of talent, how do you see this playing out? It's early. I just want to get your take on this offense.
I think depending on what your expectations are for the offense, I would say I'm lower than most, and I wouldn't be shocked if they were a bottom 15 offense. Like, they weren't a above average offense, right? I think that's what everyone's hoping. Everyone's hoping they can be this top 10 offense, and they may fall closer from like 10 to 16, kind of in that maybe slightly above average, but I don't think we should expect them to be a high-flying top 10 offense. So I would say outside the top 10, and if you're projecting them in that top 10, I'd probably say that you're a little too bullish on this team, at least as it stands right now.
Jay, I'm looking at the comments. Kev_K3, out. Chicago's cursed. We got another one. RJ says in 26, yeah, I'm in. 25, no. GRND7, buying all Bears. We also have, I will never doubt Ben Johnson. Your burner account saying I'm in on Ben. I'm not doubting Ben Johnson. Patrick says not top 10. Wallbang, 12 to 18 offense. And then, I mean, you're getting a lot of love. There are a lot of people saying you are spitting facts, JRich. Facts. FAX, not CTS. Facts. You're speaking it. All right. Well, let's talk some more facts, Jay. Let's talk some more facts. I am just the deliverer of the message, JRich. That's all I'm here to do, is just deliver the message. I didn't say this. I didn't craft this. There are people out there, Jay, who think there's going to be a new wide receiver 1 in Jacksonville. There are people out there, Jay, who think there's going to be a new WR1 in Jacksonville, Jay. Let me switch the screen and unmute myself. Hold on. I don't know if you saw the high point right here is Travis Hunter working against, and I know you don't know who number 2 is, so let me tell you who that is. That is one of the best nickel cornerbacks in Jordan Lewis in the NFL. One of the best slot corners in the NFL. This is Travis Hunter. I'm just telling you what the people are saying. They're saying all the reports that they're hearing out of Duval County, out of Jacksonville, and Liam Cohen's offense. Travis Hunter's running in that slot. He's playing that Godwin role. He's balling out on the offensive side of the ball. And everybody is saying we just assume that my boy, who I told all of y'all about in the pre-draft process, Jay Ray. I got texts from people, Ray. I don't know why you're in on that Brian Thomas. BTJ did marvelous things for the NFL world last year, and people are saying, oh, man, it might be Travis Hunter. JRich, what are your thoughts on this new sort of narrative and they say he's been uncoverable. They say he has been unguardable in practice. Nobody. Tyson Campbell, Jordan Lewis, it doesn't matter. You line him up, he's knocking him down. Do you think Jordan Richards, at your boy JRich on X, or Blue Sky, wherever you get your content from, can Travis Hunter be this Jags number 1 wide receiver? I think it's asinine to even suggest that. But again, I'm just a messenger, Jay. Talk about it.
I mean, he could be, I guess, but...
Stop it. Echo be damned. Stop it, JRich. Echo be damned. Stop it.
I just, again, I'm not really buying that. I'm a big fan of BTJ. Obviously, you put me on to him, and we were so in on him on this offense. You know, Liam Cohen is probably going to do great things with Hunter. We fully expect him to be heavily involved offensively, and we've never leaned away from that. But number one in the offense, I'm sorry, people. This guy is going to be playing defensive back as well. And he's going to be playing it probably a decent amount. So let's just, slow our roll a little bit. I'm sure if you think he can be a double-digit touchdown guy, I'd be like, okay, cool. Maybe he could be that. But outside of that, he's not going to be the number one wide receiver on this team. There is a player that is extremely talented that gets drafted in the top, 7 at wide receiver right now, who is going to be great once again, not just in real life, but in fantasy football as well. And it is Brian Thomas Jr. He is going to be the wide receiver 1 as much as Travis Hunter may be unguardable. Let's not forget, this defense was one of the worst in football last year. Jordan Lewis, you can say he's one of the best nickelbacks in the NFL. Well, then why didn't the Cowboys bring him back? Because their defense was so bad last season. So I know that you got a lot of love for Lewis and what he did for your Cowboys, but Hunter routing up Jordan Lewis is not a big feat. And for a guy who was the number 2 overall pick that they traded a 2026 first to get, probably should do fairly well, even against a slot corner that is one of the better ones in the NFL. So I'm glad Hunter's looking good, and I'm glad the reports aren't anymore, well, he's going to be playing more defensive back than wide receiver, so maybe we shouldn't draft him. He's probably going to be a top 24 receiver, assuming they can get him the ball often enough, and I think he'll be great in year 1.
I'm with you. It's Brian Thomas Jr. I'm excited for Travis Hunter, and I saw Garrison said, if you doubt Hunter, you're going to be looking real dumb by December. He's too talented, right? He's going to get his offensively. Reports are Trevor Lawrence looks good. I expect this offense to take a step forward. I really do. I think Liam Cohen, from his time being an offensive coordinator at Kentucky, what he did last season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the collection of talent that he has around him. You've got a quarterback that's been in place. You've got a quarterback that's familiar with the personnel. Britton Strange also getting good reports at the tight end spot. Running backs, whether it's going to be a combination of Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne, Michelle Tuten, LaQuint Allen might get in at some point in the season. There are a lot of pieces offensively, and then you've got 2 big explosive playmakers in Brian Thomas, and yes, Travis Hunter's going to play defense. I think this whole offense is going to take a step forward. So you look at the sports books, the projected odds right now for receiving yards, I think it's really low on Travis Hunter. I think it's like 500, 600 receiving yards is the book line on him. I think he's going to be better than that. I don't believe that he's assuming this Brian Thomas Jr. role and he's going to relegate BTJ to being the second guy, because he is going to play both ways, like you said, whereas Brian Thomas is only playing offensively. I just expect this offense to take a step forward, unlike the Houston Texans, Jay. I got to talk about Houston. I am releasing or dropping my first article on Yahoo tomorrow, and it's about split backfields, ambiguous backfields. So check that out. It'll be live on Yahoo some point tomorrow. I'm on a show with I'm on the Fantasy Forecast today with Matt Harmon, so make sure you pull up to that when we're talking through some sleepers for 2025. But one of the offenses that I'm expecting Jacksonville to take a step forward, Jay. I'm expecting the Carolina Panthers to take a step forward offensively. The offense that scares the living daylights out of me right now. And when we came back last week, you were kind of joking, Ray, did the reports really say this about Nick Chubb? Like, where did you hear that? Jay, they've been scathing, okay? This Houston Texans offense scares the shit out of me because everybody's excited for that year 3 bounce back with CJ Stroud. We know what Nico's going to do. Nico's going to be awesome for 14 games. He's missing 2. Somehow that hammy's going to do something. He's going to miss 2. Nico's going to be awesome for the 14 he plays. Reports are glowing about Christian Kirk being a slot demon, in quotes, and that's what Christian Kirk does. He's a really good slot receiver. But outside of that, I'm not buying into John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson, whoever the hell has got. And you got 2 rookies in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. The biggest problem is this reworked offensive line, which I have heard has been getting their ish pushed in daily at practice to the point where they're like, hey, defense, you got to reel this back in so we can operate. Now, Houston's got a top 3 defense in the NFL, maybe the top defense in the NFL. So that's not shocking to hear how good they are in training camp practices. But Jay, no running game at all in Houston. The article that dropped yesterday that said Nick Chubb has 0 burst to get to the second level. Like, he doesn't look bad, but he also doesn't look great. You've got a hurt, no timetable Joe Mixon, which is the best possible outcome for the Houston Texans. Dameon Pierce is hurt. So you're looking at Dare, Woody, Chubb. This offensively, if they don't have a running game to take some pressure off of CJ Stroud, I do not believe they have the personnel for him to just drop back and sling the ball to Nico Collins and make it happen. I'm very concerned about this Houston offense, and every report that seemingly comes out about the offense, their second-round tackle last year that they wanted to assume that left tackle role. I can't think of his name. They wanted him to assume that role when Larry Tunsil was traded. They said he ain't been no good. They got Ariante Essery, rookie out of Minnesota, in there running with the ones. I'm very concerned about Houston's offense, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a massive work in progress. You might be talking about Blake Fisher. He's projected to start at right tackle. He was a second-round pick last year to Houston. They brought in Cam Robinson. I don't know if he's healthy or not. He's been injured a bunch throughout his career. But yeah, you talked about Ariante Essery, who was a second-round pick as well. But yeah, it's the interior, though. That's the biggest problem with this team, and it's funny because I looked into this for a Bleacher Report show like in April or May. It was a long time ago now. And just like all the research I was doing was like the tackle spot might be okay depending on how it shakes out and based off, what you're seeing and what you're talking about, it's still not looking good. But like the guard spots and specifically the center spot is going to be very, very up in the air right now and still hasn't been figured out for this team. So that's where it's the biggest problem, is that for everything we talk about from fantasy football purposes, this team is a bit of a disaster because they don't have a running game. And as you mentioned, they have a great defense. So teams that have great defenses, go look at the Kansas City Chiefs last year, don't produce the greatest results for fantasy because they aren't forced to put up points. And so when you're a team like Houston, and I'm sure they had moments like this last year, playing against the Jaguars, playing against the Colts, playing against the Titans, where you need, 20 points to win a game, it's just not forcing you to do a whole lot. And there was plenty of times where it was basically Nico Collins and Joe Mixon, and that was it. Everyone was out on CJ Stroud because he could only throw for like 200 yards a game because that's all that was required to win football games. And especially going into this season, Houston's defense, as you mentioned, could be the best defense in the NFL. We love Denver's defense. We love all the additions they made. They just re-signed Zach Allen to a massive contract, defensive tackle, one of the most disruptive defensive tackles in the NFL. But Houston's defense could be the best, period, in the NFL. And if that's the case and they play to their potential, this offense is going to have to do much of anything. And so even without a running game, CJ Stroud throw over a few yards, get the ball to Nico Collins a little bit, and they're able to put up enough points to win games. But I think it's going to be very ugly for this team. And if they do play good rosters, oh my God, they're probably really going to struggle. And that's where I have concerns, is in the games where they're supposed to put up a lot of points, playing against good teams, they're not going to have to do that because of the defense, and they're not going to be able to rise to the occasion because the offensive line isn't good enough and the playmakers aren't strong enough to where all you do is just sit in nickel and wait for them to pass, because you're not going to have to rush them to stop this rushing attack if it's Nick Chubb, Woody Marks, or anybody else without bringing in any new additional pieces. And as it stands right now, I'm totally with you. I'm very concerned about this offense. They seem extremely one-dimensional right now, and I don't know if that's going to change if Joe Mixon isn't healthy. And if he is healthy, they'll probably be okay, but we can't expect him to walk into this offense and be great once again, because there hasn't been a lot of positive reports to say that if he does come back, he's going to be fully healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, this comment, Isaac Wright, shout out to Isaac, appreciate you watching the show, said doesn't matter who they put back there if there's no blocking. There's another one, Daniel Perry, it was a little bit, here it is right here. The starting running back of the Houston Texans is not on the roster right now. OG Snuggles checkdowns for days with that O-line. Jawar Jordan time, unfortunately. Jimbo said, I like CJ Price now. Y'all making me sad. I mean, it's what we talked about. Like, I guess the price is fine, but what are you hoping to get from your purchase? And I think that's the biggest problem. He was not good. CJ Stroud was like QB 20 something last year. He was not good last season. And now you're telling me the offensive line is a bit of a work in progress. You don't have, at least right now on Monday, August 4th, 2025, there's no sort of timetable for Joe Mixon. It's a foot injury. I don't know exactly what it is and how it differs from other foot injuries. It's just, here's the quote for those of y'all who are not watching. Texans wire Cole Thompson includes Nick Chubb as one of the losers of training camp so far, and it just says right now, starting Chubb might be the biggest red flag for Houston long term. And it was also, evidencing or talking about the burst and his ability to hit the second level to rip off those long runs. And I have been Woody Marks OG Truther 101 from the very beginning. Woody Marks, I've been on board. I don't think he's a featured back, if you get what I'm saying. Like, he's somebody you want him playing alongside Joe Mixon. You want him playing alongside a healthy, explosive Nick Chubb to allow him to do the type of things that he was so incredibly successful at during the course of his career at Mississippi State and USC, which is catching the ball. He caught over 260 passes in his collegiate career. He's an outstanding receiving running back. There's some clips with him just working linebackers in practice. I think we're excited for Stroud. Nico Collins is a first-round pick, man. I'm just hoping this Texans offensive line figures it out enough to give Stroud some time to make it happen down the field for those playmakers that we're drafting.
Yeah, and that's where, I think, let's not confuse things, Ray, because this offensive line was bad last year, too, and Joe Mixon was still pretty good. I mean, he was inefficient, but for fantasy purposes, he kind of got the job done, and this team basically said, look, we're paying all these guys too much money. We have to just rework this offensive line, refigure it out, reset the culture, and it's much less expensive now. But with that, they're now trying to regel a team and an offensive line that wasn't together last season. So they did make some subtractions, and we'll see how it works out for them, but it doesn't seem to be paying dividends quite yet. Maybe throughout the season, they gel, they get better, they improve. But yeah, we should probably project it to be about the same. And with that, last year, we saw an increase in interception rate, a decrease in TD rate, and a slight increase in terms of attempts, but not a whole lot of progression for CJ Stroud, unfortunately, and obviously regressed in terms of yardage, success rate, and yards per attempt overall. But that's what's going to happen when you lose a player like Stephon Diggs. You have a bad offensive line. Nico Collins missed time as well, so we'll see what happens here. But Ray, I see you pulled up Tyreek Hill on the Miami Dolphins, and I'm sure we'll get to Mike McDaniel and his comments as well. But Tyreek Hill, I don't know if he was asked about this or how they could be better offensively, but kind of talking about how they could be better this year compared to last year.
Take the ball out on third down. What? You want him? That's my honest opinion. If it's third and short, he's not a power back. I be telling him that in the locker room, but he a power back. I love Devon though, but if I'm being honest, that's why you got Jalen Wright. That's why you got Ollie Gordon. For those kind of situations. Take the ball out on third down.
All right, Jay. So what we're looking at is Tyreek Hill after practice. They asked how they could a reporter asked, how the Dolphins could be better on short yardage, short down situations. Tyreek Hill says, take Devon Achane out. Take Achane out. You asked me a question. How can we be better on third down? Take out the 185-pound running back and put in 220-pound Jalen Wright. Put in 230-pound Ollie Gordon. This is Tyreek Hill. And when I heard this and I'm watching it, I didn't take it as I didn't take it bad at first initially until more people started talking about how he shouldn't air this dirty line. It seemed like he was just kind of joking around. There's some truth in there, right? But it didn't seem like he was, to me, it didn't seem like he was attacking Mike McDaniel. But there have been a lot of shots taken between Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins offense, how inefficient they were, why he struggled. So there was probably a jab somewhere in there, the first jab of the fight. You're just kind of feeling out the fighter, but it didn't feel malicious to me. But Jay, Mike McDaniel, he also had something to say, right?
Yeah, he did, didn't he? You want to pull that one up?
Yeah. Let just talk about Tyreek while I pull it up.
So it's one of those situations where Tyreek as a whole has talked about how he wants out. And there's definitely a bit of drama brewing in Miami because he's got that big contract. And then Mike McDaniel had to go to the podium and he had to say this.
That you guys, I thought it was genius reporting by Tyreek, seeing how we had a short yardage period that very day that you guys were in attendance for. And his suggestion was, I guess, congruent with Coach Stootsville, that's exactly how we repped the backs in that short yardage period that very day. But we thought it was funny that he reported the news that wasn't news on that practice day in that short yardage period that you guys were all there too for.
Right? And so you hear those comments and you say, okay, when Tyreek says it, it seems a little calculated, right? It seems like, why is he saying these things and what does it mean? But then Miami Daniels says, well, this is what we did in practice. You guys were there. So he's kind of just reporting what was public knowledge. It's kind of just the way that he said it. Take Achane out, you're like, whoa, what's going on here? And it's just, I think it's funny because Tyreek is a player that definitely will speak his mind, is not afraid to kind of just say it, whether he should say it to the media, whether he shouldn't say it to the media, whether it's politically correct in terms of how you approach the media in general and your teammates in the locker room. He's kind of just saying it. And maybe it's the truth and it's not really a big deal, but definitely there was a bit of a media storm there. I'm not that concerned about it. You've talked about it already, how they brought in Ollie Gordon, how they could use Jalen Wright as well in those short yardage situations. But I'm sure if you're Devon Achane, you're like, what the hell, man? Like, I want to be playing on the football field and out there, even in those short yardage situations.
So Achane did come out and he quote tweeted Tyreek's comments about him. And he was like, damn, bro. Like, yeah, but he put a laughing. I don't think it was that big of a deal. I don't think it was a malicious attack at the coaching staff. It seemed like Tyreek was being serious, but it didn't seem malicious. That's what I'll say. But a lot of people are just like, is his time running thin in Miami? Like, is he turning into, some people say, is he turning into Antonio Brown of the Dolphins? And I'm like, hey, man, AB is on a whole nother planet. He's on a different level of diva-esque, wide receiver-ish stuff. I don't think he's that, but Tyreek's got to put up this year because he didn't have a great year last year, and a lot of that was due to the fact that Tua was hurt. Jalen Waddle didn't even have 90 targets last year. I mean, it was just the offense was bad. Devon Achane was not good. His yards per attempt, not good. He was great in the receiving game, but on the ground. But that's why they made the adjustments. That's why there's glowing reports about Jalen Wright's ability to man some of that running back work. That's why they went out and invested a draft pick in Ollie Gordon to add some more size to that offense. We'll see. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but Tyreek's got to show up and play this year, Jay. Like he's also a 31-year-old wide receiver, so he's got, no matter how you slice it, he's got less time in the game than he has more time in the game, and it looks like he's in fantastic shape. All the reports are he's still the cheetah. He's still an athletics freak out there at the receiver position. Maybe the morality, there's some people who play fantasy football that have like these morals, right? I just cannot have that guy on my roster. I don't give a shit. If he's going to be out there and he's going to catch 1,200 yards worth of passes, I'm in on Tyreek. I don't think this is a big deal. And I actually think that, I just don't think it was malicious on any part of Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where, 31 and a half years old, getting definitely towards that age cliff, but he's still Tyreek Hill. The concern really with this Dolphins team is the offensive line and whether it's going to hold up, because we know they really struggled last year. And then also with that is, can Tua stay healthy? Because as much as we may like the pieces on this team, this offense is solely built around Tua. And without Tua on the team, this offense was arguably the worst in football, period. They were worse than Tennessee. They were worse than the Jets. They were worse than just about any offense that we saw when Tua wasn't on the field. And so we'll see if they can manage to improve this season and improve as a whole. But yeah, they have a lot of work to do. But Tyreek being efficient once again is definitely going to be a big role in whether or not this Dolphins offense is going to be good or it's kind of going to be average once again.
All right, Jay, we've got some more glowing reports that I want to talk about. It was family night, all the training camp scrimmages, family night, go out, see the practices, and that is a common occurrence, Jay. It does happen. I know you had asked that. But Matthew Golden, JRich, Matthew Golden is getting crazy buzz and praise right now about his play in Packers camp. There was they tracked the team reps and who's in and what sets. Jaden Reed, 0 slot reps. First scrimmage, Jaden Reed, same-ish that we've seen the past 2 years. Jaden Reed not on the field and 2 wide receiver sets. Jaden Reed just feels like he's going to do the same thing that he's always done, right? Just be Jaden Reed, which is fine. Matthew Golden, though. I mean, I'm looking at clips. Jordan, I mean, he's getting downfield. He's winning. He's using his hand. I know the number 22 ain't great. And apparently the plans are down the line he'll switch to his collegiate number, which is number 2. But the reports out of Green Bay about their investment in first-round pick Matthew Golden have been outstanding. And I remember after the draft, this was one of the receivers people just kind of dismissed, Jay. You know, we talk about we talk about all the other receivers that were taken in round 1, and we're talking about this one and what Emeka Ibuka could do in Tampa Bay and what this Trey Harris can do in Los Angeles. And I mean, there's times where Trey Harris is being outshined by Keandre Lambert-Smith. We talk about all these. I've really heard nobody, JRich, report and talk about how good Matthew Golden looks for Green Bay. And we have talked about on this show, this offense changed when Christian Watson wasn't available. When he's on the field and he can stretch the field, he was incredible for Green Bay. He helped Jordan Love out. We know the touchdowns he was able to produce because Jordan Love is a YOLO type quarterback. He's going to put the ball down the field. He's going to drop back foot, and let it rip. And without one of those type of weapons on the field, the offense, it can't operate at its full potential. Matthew Golden, all the reports are positive. JRich, how you feeling about Golden?
I think we should be positive, like you're saying, right? Because for all the things that we've seen this offseason, like I haven't seen too many wide receivers hyped up the way Golden's been, especially rookies. Like I'd say it's McMillan, it's Ibuka, and then Golden's probably third. You know, you get the lesser tier guys, but it's still a first-round pick, right? And we can't forget that. This is the first-round wide receiver they've had since, like, what was it, like 2002? Like pre-Aaron Rodgers days was the last time they drafted a wide receiver in the first round. So clearly they like this guy. Clearly they're going to use him a lot. And even to your point about Christian Watson, there's some Packers beat reporters saying that he even looks pretty decent on the side fields, and he may be slowly working his way back as well, quicker than people expected. And again, if he's not being asked to be the guy, he could be a great asset to this team. But it's how do they utilize Matthew Golden that's going to ultimately help everyone else fall in line. Your Tucker Krafts, your Jaden Reeds, your Christian Watsons, that's the fourth receiver to stretch the field on third downs. It's how does Matthew Golden find his role in this offense? And with all the reports we've been hearing so far, I think we should be very excited for what could be for him. Because while we're not super high on Jordan Love as it stands right now, it's largely because we don't know who the guy is, whether he's in the right role or the wrong role, and how this offense is ultimately going to function. Jordan Love could be great if Matthew Golden is the X, Jaden Reed is the Z, Tucker Kraft is the tight end 1, and you still have compliments of Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, and Christian Watson to, again, provide additional weapons for this team, and we know that Josh Jacobs will be fine on the ground as well. But if that isn't the case and Matthew Golden isn't the guy because the prospect profile was a little bit shaky, people questioned the speed because the 40 time seemed a little bit juiced, and if that becomes the reality, it could be a little bit muddled and inconsistent once again this season. But if Golden's the guy, I think this offense could be really, really good, and Jordan Love could be in for another phenomenal season. The question to you, Ray, is what do you think the chances of that happening are? Do you think Matthew Golden can be a top 3 rookie wide receiver this season? And if he is, what does that mean for Jordan Love in this offense?
Top 3 rookie receiver, where I'm going to put Tetairoa McMillan inside the top 3. I'm not ranking him any order. Tetairoa McMillan's inside the top 3. T-Mac is top 3 this year in 2025. Ibuka, Hunter, who else did we have?
Yeah, Batch, Harris, Golden. Those are kind of your main guys.
Yeah. Yes. To answer, yes. I absolutely. What are the chances? I'm just not scared. Wicks is hurt. I'm not worried. Dobbs is going to do what Dobbs does. I don't think Here's what I don't believe is going to happen. I don't think that the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur, who's been around Jaden Reed for the past 2 years, they're going to change the shit that he does. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that he's going to become something other than what he's been the first 2 years of his career. So we know what Jaden Reed is probably going to do. He's going to be efficient with the limited opportunities that he gets because he just doesn't get a ton of them. for whatever reason. Tucker Kraft currently injured. You got a hammer running back in Josh Jacobs. They needed a downfield element to this offense. They needed speed. They needed juice. So yeah, I absolutely think Matthew Golden can finish as a top 3 rookie receiver behind T-Mac, right up there behind Travis Hunter. Probably I would peg Travis Hunter to have more production than Golden. And I like Igbokwe better long-term. I like Baker Mayfield a little bit better than Jordan Love. I like his offensive environment better than I do kind of Green Bay and Matthew Golden. But Igbokwe does have a little bit of a Bucky / Mike Evans / McMillan / when Godwin's on the field problem for 2025. Not for 26, not for 27. I think Matthew Golden's path to opportunity is probably a little cleaner than where Emeka Igbokwe is right now, and not as clean as McMillan or Hunter. So yeah, I absolutely think he will and can finish as a top 3 wide receiver from the rookie class in Green Bay. Yes.
Yeah, and that's where, people are talking about in the chat, Luther Burden, wide receiver 3 for Chicago, at best, probably. Kyle Williams, probably the wide receiver 2 in New England, and we don't expect that offense to be very good. Outside of McMillan, this is the only rookie wide receiver, at least that I can think off the top of my head, feel free to correct me, that could be the number one on their offense. And right now, even today, I'd say projects to potentially be the number 1 target on this Green Bay offense. Now, if it comes to fruition, I'd say I'm 50-50 on that, maybe even slightly under 50-50 as to whether or not he's going to be the number 1 option. But especially early on, we shouldn't really care. Ladd McConkey barely did anything the first 2 games of the season and still had a phenomenal year and ended the season extremely strong. So even if he's not the number 1 guy right out of camp, first month of the season, he can assume that role throughout the season as the year goes on and finish still as a top wide receiver. So for me, I'm kind of with you. I think there's a world where he definitely could be that. And I'm glad he's seeing a lot of positive reports, because after the draft, there wasn't a whole lot of positivity for Golden in Green Bay and what he could be in this Green Bay offense. But I don't think we should ignore the fact that there is a lot of positive reports. And if you haven't drafted yet, taking a shot on a guy like Golden in a seasonal league, or if you haven't drafted yet in some of your rookie drafts, is not a bad look today as it was a little while ago. Yes, we all like Luther Burden. We may like Trey Harris. We may like some of these second rounders that show signs and have great prospect profiles, but this is a first-round pick that's in an offense where he could potentially be the number 1 right out the gate. You should probably take a shot on that guy being great in his offense.
Jay, people are asking about Jimmy Haslam's comments on Quinshon Judkins, and what it was from a couple of days ago, Jay. He said he's cautiously optimistic that rookie running back Quinshon Judkins will still be signed despite the arrest and pending suspension. We talked about this when this happened. Oh, yeah, it's, this was before stuff started coming out. Oh, yeah, he's going to play, and he's going to play more. I have no damn clue. What, we're still waiting on the fallout from Jordan Addison. I think he's still got a court date. We still don't know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice. I don't know where we are with Quinshon. Here's the thing I know. He's not in camp. And Dylan Sampson is running as the 1B behind Jerome Ford, who's running and operating as the 1A, as he should. He was there last year. We'll see how Dylan Sampson performs. Jake, let me just ask you right off the cuff. Quinshon Judkins was like a top, we'll just say at worst, he was coming off the board 108 in rookie drafts. Would he even be a first-round pick now?
I don't think so, no. I don't see a world where you could take him in the first round because, as you kind of mentioned, the Browns already said that they're going to wait for due process with all of his legal issues. And until we get some resolution on that, which doesn't even account for the pending suspension for him because he's going to get suspended, I just don't think there's a world where even if he is signed, let's say September 1st, right before the season starts, does he even play the first couple weeks of the season? And I think the answer is no.
All right, Jay, we're going to do some quick hitters right here before we get out of here. And I see people talking about the Indianapolis Colts, JRich. They're talking about the Indianapolis Colts and the positive buzz that their first-round pick, Tyler Warren, is getting. From day one, when everybody was I hate the landing spot of Indianapolis. He's not that good. They made it seem like he was drafted 50 picks after Colston Loveland, right? He came off the board right after Colston Loveland. They were both top 15 picks. This is the rookie. I'm telling you, man, the way they're going to use Tyler Warren, you're hearing about it in camp. He's not just an underneath security blanket. They're using him, goddamn, down the field. He's in the backfield. He's throwing passes at camp, JRich. Tyler Warren is inevitable. He is they don't have anything like that on the roster. Pittman is fine. Downs is going to do his thing. Alec Pierce is a downfield threat. Adnan Mitchell will get some opportunity. But this is a real chance for Tyler Warren to put a massive major stamp on this offense early in the season. I'm very much in on Tyler Warren. Where you at, Jay?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Tyler Warren should be great for this team. I asked you the question, do you think he could be the number 2 option for this offense? And it sounds like maybe there's a world where maybe even he's the number 1. We should be happy. The question isn't whether or not Tyler Warren's a good player. The question is can Anthony Richardson get him the ball, and can he be effective for an entire season? And if he can, then Tyler Warren will be great. But if he can't, then there'll be questions as to how good Tyler Warren can be with Anthony Richardson at quarterback or with Daniel Jones at quarterback. And I think that's the bigger question for Warren. Not the talent or the situation, it's the quarterback. And where do you stand on the quarterback? Because there was some positive buzz for JRich. And so I have to ask you, did you see Shane Steichen's comments? And I will admit, it seems to be trending towards Anthony Richardson as the starter for week 1, but he did say they're going to split reps in the preseason. They're both going to play quite a bit. So hopefully this week, hopefully they play Thursday so we can talk about it on Friday. But at worst case Monday, we're leading off the show with Jones versus JRich and how they both looked in preseason.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not going to say anything. Nice report, Jay. Nice report, JRich. I guess we'll wait to see to talk about JRich. I'm going to say nothing. I've been slandered from pillar to post, from coast to coast, more than anybody on Anthony. Jimbo is in the chat ready to say something slick. I know it. Jimbo's ready. Thank you, Swim. Never doubted JRich. I'm not saying anything, Jay. I'm just going to sit back. Look at Greg's talking shit now. See what I'm saying? Soon as I bring him up, the chat, they do this. As soon as I bring him, that's why I'm not going to say a damn thing, JRich. I will let you speak as we roll. I've got no comment. There's Jimbo's ass right there. I've got no comment. No comment on Anthony Richardson, JRich. Look at it. Moggs, Patrick, no comment. I'm just going to sit back and continue to take some shots as my QB3 coming off the board. QB 28, QB 29. Now I'm Ray DQ. I'm supposed to be working at Dairy Queen with Anthony Richardson. I'm not saying shit. JRich, where do you want to end the show? Where are we going to end this thing?
I think you should bring up the Bryce Young story. I will touch on Matt Stafford quickly, Luke, because you did put it in the chat. I'm a little worried about Stafford. I'm definitely a little worried because it seems like this injury is going to linger into the season potentially, and especially throughout training camp. So we'll see what happens with him. I'm a little worried about Stafford. Hopefully he's not your only quarterback that you have right now, but I think we should be a little bit worried about Stafford until we get a positive report, because we do not want to walk into the season with Jimmy G being that starting quarterback for the Rams. That's not good for Puka Nacua, and it's especially not good for Devontae Adams. But Ray, where are you at on Bryce Young? Because Dave Canales did a couple interviews over the weekend, and he was very glowing about Bryce Young and what could be for the Carolina Panthers this season.
Again, JRich, he was incredible. After he got benched, when he stunk it up and he got his ass benched for a little bit, he came back and he answered the call. He came back. And not only did Bryce Young deliver some quality performances, I mean, he had multiple top 10 finishes on the week, throwing the ball to Adam Thielen. I don't know if you saw from the Panthers scrimmage, Xavier Legette dropping more damn bomb. Beautiful throw from Bryce right into Legette's hands, and he drops it again. JRich, Bryce Young came back and he played like 2022 version of Bryce Young at Alabama. Like he was awesome when he got back for the kid. And Carolina's team is historically bad defense. I like the upgrades. It looks like the Jimmy Horn thing. Maybe there's a little something there with Jimmy Horn being able to get open. I mean, he played well. The reports are glowing. I'm in on Bryce. You're looking at this 2023 class. It's a pivotal year for those quarterbacks. Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and we already know Will Levis's fate, right? Let's get out of here on this one. Hit the music, JRich. Rank the year 3 quarterbacks. Go.
I think if I was to rank them right now and then after the season, I think right now it's Stroud, Bryce, JRich. I think by the end of the season, it's going to be Bryce, Stroud, and JRich will be third. But JRich is probably going to be third.
I'm taking Bryce over Stroud right now. I'm taking Bryce over Stroud right now, JRich. I'm taking Bryce over Stroud. I'll put Stroud at 2. I'll put Stroud 2. Just because at least I know he'll have the damn job all year. But by the end of the season, I said it. I think Anthony Richardson is not done. He needed to grow up, mature. He's still very young. Run the ball, stay healthy. Tyler Warren is going to be a big addition and a big help to this offense, Jay. Okay. All right, we're getting out of here. We're getting out of here. Luke, I'll take Bryce right now. I'll take Bryce over JRich right now. And we got a super chat from Patrick, leaving Dallas today. Any lunch recommendations for me and the wife? If y'all trying to turn up, go to Kitchen and Cocktails, right downtown Dallas. Go to Kitchen and Cocktails. Amazing vibe, great food, good atmosphere, drinks are popping, and then you can just get right to the airport. Las Mascaras, it's a little hood spot. It's a little hood taco spot, but I mean, it is delicious. It is delicious if you like authentic Tex-Mex, man. But we appreciate everybody being in the building. Thank y'all for pulling up for this episode of Wake Up with Ray and Jay every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Bleacher Report, Jay, we're on twice a week now. So we're doing more stuff with Bleacher Report Tuesdays and Thursdays. We got more Bleacher Report. Yahoo, I'll be on with Matt Harmon later today. And make sure y'all wake y'all asses up with me and JRich on Wednesday. Hit the thumbs up button. Hit the music again, Jay. Hit the music again. You're the one who put a 1-minute song on the outro. You gotta loop this bad boy for me. You know it's a little extended when we try to do the outro. Appreciate each and every year. Check out the other content on the channel. We had some videos drop. We had a mock draft, 25 mock draft. We had that on the DDFFB channel. Check that out. Ty DeClaire, talking trades. Last call, Dynasty Trade Show. Last call with Ty DeClaire on DDFFB. For Jay, for myself, we appreciate everybody in the building, and we'll see y'all bright and early on Wednesday, and we'll have the echo fixed. I promise you. We love y'all. We out. Peace.